Okay, there's two common ways to pick a card from your deck. Once you've gotten them shuffled, if you're going to do what's called a spread, which means you are going to do a set of cards where it's like you're going to pull one for your career, your finances, your health, and then your relationships or love life. You would pull like this, and you would have them all in a pile. And you would have already thought of what you were going to do before you shuffle this deck. So that's something you need to be thinking about as you're shuffling, that you're going to do a spread. And then you're going to do it like that. And then you're going to read your cards like so. And because you thought, I'm going to do a spread, before you shuffled your cards, the correct cards end up at the top. So you don't have to worry about using your intuition to pull your cards. They're already at the top because somehow you intuitively shuffled them in the correct order. That's how that kind of works. I know people who do yes-no questions right off the top and just start answering questions that way. And some people that works fine. I'm not one of those people. The only time I pull from the top is when I am doing a spread. And you can get spreads online, like I just made that one up actually. You can also do spreads designed for specifically all over your love life, and like each card's like, this one represents you, this one represents your significant other, this one represents the obstacle, this one represents what you should do, this one should, so forth and so forth and so forth and so forth. There are like hundreds of spreads. In fact, you can make them up all you want. You can go grab paper and go, I want card number 1 to mean this, and I want card number 2 to mean this. Literally, that's all you have to do. I found working with ones that I make up works a lot better than ones where I just found them online, but finding ones online are a good way to start. Now, what I like to do is I like to do yes-no questions or 3-card spreads, and I will do it over several topics, and because of this, I like to spread my cards out. Now, this is where a lot of people get confused. You have 78 cards in a tarot deck. What card do you pick for what question? Now, this has to go in with the fact that you're using your intuition. This deck does not actually tell you answers. This is just how to process what you already know. Because the way tarot works, in my opinion, is everybody's brain is connected to what's called the collective consciousness. This consciousness is connected to everything. It's like a big giant web. And therefore, through it, we know everything. Everything that is and ever will be, and ever was. You just are not aware that you can, like, for instance, you can't access this in daily life. But that is sometimes where you're watching a TV show and you're like, I so knew that was going to happen. How did I know that? Sometimes that's where that's from. So you have the ability to connect to this, but a lot of the times, things like doubt and, fear block you from it. So the tarot is a way to help you learn it. So your collective consciousness, part of your brain that can connect to this, your subconscious, actually is what allows you to pick the correct card for your reading. So you have to stop focusing on, oh my God, what if I picked the wrong card? You have to stop thinking, oh my gosh, what if I pick wrong? Oh my gosh, I don't know what to pick. You have to stop all of this. You have to focus and breathe and trust your intuition. Go, okay, and you're just going to kind of look over the cards, and you're going to go, this one feels right, and flip it. That's pretty much all there is to it. Now, when you are flipping cards, no matter if you're flipping them from your stack of cards and you're flipping them, you always want to flip them in the same direction. What I mean from that is you don't want to do this, where you pull it and do this, and then later on do that. Because this, if I had just done this, would be upside down, versus doing this makes it right side up. And if I had done, if I do it like this, flipping this one out like I did, it's right side up, versus if I had pulled it out and then flipped it this way, it would now be upside down. So you want to be consistent in how you pull your cards, both as when it's standing up as a, solid deck and pulling for a spread, or spreading them out, because that will change your answer. So you want to be consistent every time. So for me, I always pull out and over, out and over. While other people, I think my mother actually flips it this way. And if you do the first card like that during that reading, all your cards must be done this way. If you flip your first one like this, then you should do that throughout the entire thing. Now, it's okay if you mess up, because if you, for some bizarre reason, did one mistake, you might have been meaning to make the mistake. Maybe that card should have been the opposite direction, because this means yes, upside down means no. So, again, this is why pulling it means a whole completely different thing than, flipping it and doing that. So you want to make sure that you're being consistent in how you flip your cards. And if you make a mistake, it's fine. Just go ahead and read it as you first pulled it. Because it might be you instinctively pulled it the wrong way because that's what your intuition was actually telling you to do without you even knowing it. Again, these are just like a tool, and your tuition is what allows you to do this. That's all this is. No way in this deck, or no way in this world, does this deck actually tell you the future. You're actually the one telling the future. Because you actually have the ability within you to read the future. You just need tools a lot of the times to start the process. So don't freak out when you're like, oh no, what card should I be pulling? My God, should I pull this one or this one? And then if you pull this one, maybe you were supposed to pull this one. Whatever card you first think of, like if I were to pull a card right now, I would pull this one. If I were to pull a card for love, I would pull this one. If I were to pull a card for jobs and relationships, I would pull this one. Because those are the first cards that I notice and I'm going toward for whatever reason. And so those are the ones I would pull. Now, 5 minutes later, it might be a completely different card. But that's fine. One thing you want to keep in mind is if you get an answer that doesn't make sense, whether it's in spreads or pulling this way, it might mean that you're not meant to know the answer. So don't get all upset when this right here makes absolutely no sense for your question. Oh, it's a person climbing uphill. Okay, there's obstacles. But you're asking something about that has no foreseeable obstacles. So you're like, I'm confused. And then don't re-ask the question. And I say this because re-asking is not going to get you any better of an answer. I say that tarot kind of has its own spirit, its own personality. And so if you repeat the same question 5 times just because you didn't understand it each time, and instead of realizing maybe I'm not supposed to know the answer, and you keep on doing it, your cards will actually give you gibberish for the rest of the reading. I joke that decks can get mad at you, and I've known several witches who will agree with me. One witch I know, and a good friend of mine, actually said when she thought about purchasing a second deck, her first deck completely stopped working. Would not give her accurate readings for her life. And that was because it was mad that she was going to go out and get a new deck. And so apparently that deck wasn't ready to be put to the side. Luckily, I never had that problem. Or this deck and most of my other decks would not work because I own many decks. I kind of collect them. But, so they do have a personality and a life to them. And so you want to treat them like a respectful friend. You don't want to abuse them by asking the same questions over and over and over every week. You want to learn to understand the deck. You want to learn to work with the deck, not against it, or drive it up the wall, as if it was a real person. So always be really respectful to your deck. And sure, okay, if this doesn't make sense, that doesn't mean you have to put this off to the side and ask, I do recommend asking the next day, but you can say, can you clarify that? At which point, if your next card means absolutely nothing with this card and the original situation and can't clarify it, then the deck's probably trying to tell you, sorry, no. And that's technically not even the deck telling you this. It's your intuition saying, sorry, you're not ready to know this information. Or maybe it's there is no actual definite answer for this at the moment. Because things are maybe up in the air. Maybe it's your boss has to decide on something, or your teacher hasn't graded your papers yet, or maybe your teacher is deciding on what grade to give you at this moment, and there's no definite answer. So that's some things to think about when you start to get odd answers. Maybe it's not really that you can't read the deck very properly, but maybe that it could be that you can't read the deck properly. But a lot of the times it will be, nope, it's just that's the way of saying, sorry, you're not ready for this answer. Sorry, there is no answer. If you get gibberish throughout the rest of the reading, for several more questions or all the spread, then it might possibly be that you need to take some time and restudy each and every card. I had to do that a few times with certain decks. I thought, yeah, I understand this deck perfectly. Then I actually started doing sample readings and went, no, I don't. I thought I did, but I don't. So yeah, that's how you pull your cards, and you know if you're getting the right answers. Next up, we're going to show you how to do a sample reading. And I can even show you how to fake a reading later. I don't recommend faking a reading, but we'll